second and think about your money. The banknotes in your wallet, the balance in your bank account, the paycheck you get at the end of the week. Now ask yourself this. What makes that money actually worth something? What makes it valuable?
You don't have to worry about money in Canada. It will retain its purchasing power. You don't have to worry about the financial system in Canada. It will continue to function. You don't have to worry about the physical notes you use. They will be accepted.
Canadians have confidence in their money, and for good reason. A lot of expertise and dedication and effort goes into protecting the value of our money from high inflation and counterfeiting, and into ensuring that we have a reliable financial system. Much of that work is done here at the Bank of Canada. Canadians own it, and it is a mainstay of this country's economic stability.
Okay, I admit we have to put some money aside for the future, but how do we know our savings will still be worth something when we go to cash them in a few years?
That's a good question. How do we know how much our money will buy in the future? When the costs of goods and services goes up and the dollar doesn't buy as much as it once did, that's called inflation. As long as inflation is low, stable, and predictable, we can stay confident in the future value of our money. That helps us plan for the future. Low, stable, and predictable inflation is the goal. The Government of Canada and the Bank of Canada have a joint agreement to aim for an annual inflation rate of 2%. This is called the inflation target.
I remember double-digit inflation in Canada. Nobody could keep up. It drove my parents crazy.
Times really have changed for the better. So how does the Bank of Canada keep inflation in check?
We have economists that study the latest Canadian economic data. We have economists that monitor and survey the international economic environment. And understanding what's going on, of course, is very important for the conduct of policy. Now, this research has a big impact on the decisions made at the Bank of Canada, and these decisions are communicated to financial markets and to Canadian public 8 times a year.
This interest rate announcement happens 8 times a year, and each time it's really scrutinized by the media and also the financial and business communities. Every time this announcement is made, they're really quick to react and also to take a second look at the underlying analysis. So the communication aspect, the communication that goes into the interest rate announcement as well as the monetary policy report is becoming increasingly important. The more Canadians understand about what the bank does, the more confidence they can have in the work that the bank does.
The Bank of Canada sets the policy interest rate, which influences commercial interest rates. For consumers, low interest rates mean it costs less to borrow money. Mortgages are cheaper, so are lines of credit. For businesses, low-cost loans help them buy new equipment and expand operations. All this activity in the economy tends to push inflation up. But turn that scenario on its head. With high interest rates, borrowers are less inclined to borrow. Savers are more inclined to save. Everyone's spending less. And when that happens, inflation tends to come down. So whether the bank lowers or raises the policy interest rate, its goal is to control inflation, keeping it low, stable, and predictable. That way, Canadians can always have confidence in the value of their money. Interest rates up cool things down. Interest rates down heat things up. It's a balancing act. Getting the balance right can be the difference between economic well-being and economic hardship.
Now, it's important to note that monetary policy works in a symmetric fashion. If we were in a situation where the economy was overheating and we faced the risk that inflation would rise above our target, then interest rates would rise, and those higher rates would serve to slow the economy down a bit and to bring inflation back to target.
In 2008 and 2009, Canada faced a global synchronized recession that was very deep, and as a response to that, the Bank of Canada lowered its policy interest rate to a record low level. And as a result of those actions, the Canadian economy was able to recover relatively quickly.
We've learned at great cost in the 70s, in the early 80s, the price of inflation, and there were heroic efforts taken by a number of people, including in the Bank of Canada, to get inflation down to a level that is low, stable, predictable, where it ceases to be part of people's thinking. They don't worry about inflation. We worry about inflation. It's our job to keep it at that right level, which is at 2%, so that Canadians can get on with their lives.
Did you get the concert tickets, Nia?
No, I completely forgot. No, that's okay. Hold on a second. I'll just log on to the ticket website. Huh?
It's amazing how easily money moves around these days. Don't you think? From buyers to sellers, from sellers to banks, and from banks back to businesses and consumers. It's easy to take all these millions of transfers for granted. Just as cars need roads and water needs pipes to move around, money moves through a financial system. That's where the Bank of Canada comes in.
Every day, there are millions of financial transactions taking place in our economy worth billions of dollars as people give each other checks, or as they buy goods and services, or as stocks and bonds are purchased on financial markets. And part of what the Bank of Canada does is to oversee these large, complex systems that are used for making these financial transfers each and every day. Often Canadians don't give a second thought to these systems because they do generally work well. But if they don't work properly, this can be tremendously disruptive, which is why the Bank of Canada needs to be there to ensure that they do operate correctly.
Thankfully, Canada has a robust financial system. The Bank of Canada works to ensure it stays strong and secure, and that a problem in one part of the system doesn't affect the others.
We work through the G20, the 20 largest countries in the world. We work through the IMF. We work through something called the BIS, which is also a group of major central banks. And in doing so, we try to raise the standard of regulation and also ensure that other countries are applying good regulation and supervision to their banks, to their insurance companies, to their financial systems, so that we don't get those shocks from abroad. That's incredibly important work. It's complicated, but it's something that we're very focused on here because it matters for Canadians.
Something else. The Bank of Canada is also the banker for the federal government. Though I'm pretty sure they don't transfer funds via cell phone.
And done. Oh, great, thanks. I just bought both our tickets. All we have to do is pick them up at the box office later. So, do you want to pick up the tab? And we'll just settle the difference later.
No problem. I'm sure no one will mind if I use my personal favorite, cash. How amazing is cash? While we all may be using our debit card more these days, we still use a lot of cash. The Bank of Canada designs banknotes that are attractive, easy to use, durable, and, most importantly, difficult to counterfeit. If it was hard to tell a real Canadian banknote from a fake, confidence in our currency would disappear. All of our banknotes have security features that are easy to check. It's quick and easy, and a sure way to avoid being stuck with a fake.
We try to tell people, make it a habit to check all denominations before they enter your till. Don't be comfortable accepting smaller notes instead of larger notes. Check them all. Counterfeiters know which notes are most commonly used, and they will target whatever they can.
Banknotes. The Bank of Canada helps make sure we can use them with complete confidence. It's something we can count on. 20, 40, 60.
All of the bank's operations ultimately contribute to the well-being of Canadians. In fact, that's our mandate. The first line of our mandate in the Bank of Canada Act is to contribute and enhance the well-being of Canadians. How do we do that? Well, by keeping inflation low, stable, predictable. Canadians can act with confidence. They can invest, they can save with confidence. By ensuring the financial system operates, again, they can have confidence in what they do. And ensuring that they can use notes, they can have confidence in terms of their daily lives.
So now you've taken some time to think about your money, from the banknotes in your wallet to the balance in your bank account.
And you know that the work they do here
Means that you can go here, or here, or any number of places with confidence, today and in the future. Because of low, stable, predictable inflation, a sound financial system, and banknotes you can trust. That's the work of the Bank of Canada. That's something you can count on.